Hey everybody, it's Richard Kirkham from Kirkham a Movie a Day and the Lambcast. I'm here today trying to give you a little bit of an explanation about why I'm so enthusiastic about David Lynch's 1984 version of Dune in light of the upcoming release of Denis Villeneuve's Part 2 of Dune. I'm excited by the release of the new version. I was quite thrilled with the Part 1 that came out 2 years ago, 3 years ago now. And I'm a big fan of Dune, but I've always been a defender and actually an advocate for the David Lynch version of the film. I think it's quite spectacular, and I love some of the things that Lynch did in his film to bring to life some of the things that we were expecting to see as Dune fans. The difference between the two versions of the film is not just one of technology, although that seems to be a big part of it. Obviously, the visual technology from today is quite spectacular and allows for intricate uh, equipment to be shown on screen. The ornithopters, for instance, are so much more effective in the Villeneuve version of the film than the 1984 version from David Lynch. However, there are a couple of things that are different that have not been enhanced by the new film, and I wanted to talk a little bit about those. One of the things that I think is perhaps a little bit less effective is the shields and the way they're depicted on screen. Now it's very efficient in the new version. Basically, it feels looks like a glowing halo around the participants in the battles, slowing down the swords or the weapons that are being shot at the participants in the battle. And like I said, it's kind of a red glowing effect compared to the box-like effect in the David Lynch version. It might seem more practical, but it's not more interesting. I think the more interesting effect is the one in the Lynch film, which is an animated box-formed shield around the participants in the combat. You can see it especially in that sequence with Gurney Halleck and Paul in the training room, where the boxes are, they mechanically produce, they look spectacular, and there's a sound to them when they clash that makes it feel like it's something real and tangible. I think the thing with the new version of the films is that they have made, in trying to make it practical and look like something that is being used every day, they've kind of lost a sense of the visual elegance of filmmaking. And I really miss that a little bit. A second big difference between the films is in the production design. Now, let's face it, once again, we're dealing with some spectacular technical abilities that the Villeneuve films have been able to do because of advanced computer technology. I think, however, that if you look at the sequences that are set both in the palace at Caladan and in the Atreides headquarters there in Arrakeen, you can see substantial differences in the level of detail in the production. I think the David Lynch version is full of indicators about the environments in which the films are supposed to be taking place. In Caladan, in the David Lynch film, you can see everything is kind of made of wood. It is intricately carved. It has details in it that reflect the kind of more, let's say, environment where you're going to get some moisture in the atmosphere. In the sequences set on Arrakis, most of the most of the background is in stone. Sometimes it's in mosaics. It looks like it's a temple out of Moorish period time with intricate little tiles here and there. And I think the staircase, for instance, is a spectacular example of an interesting element of the film that you don't see in the new version of the film. Now, I haven't seen part two yet, so I can't say for sure how it's going to compare when we get to the final sequences of the movie. But I can tell you that the attack in Paul's bedroom, for instance, using the hunter seeker, uh, it just feels more elegant in the David Lynch version. That mechanical device, although it's larger and it appears to be clunkier than the little mosquito that appears in the Villeneuve film, It's more interesting, and the way that it moves slowly and it's searching out for Paul, I think, is dramatically more effective. And it's one of the things that makes the film work pretty well. Look at how it's intricately designed as well, with the rings around a glass structure, and we can see the hollow center of the needle that's going to inject whatever poison is there. Uh, as opposed to, like I said, in the Villeneuve film, we basically are seeing a mechanical mosquito fly around the room, and it doesn't really have much of that interest in it. I think another example in the is in the costuming that goes on here. Villeneuve has kind of emphasized some of this dramatic headpieces in the Bene Gesserit, and I think they're okay. But I think the elegant hoods that they wore on Caladan in the David Lynch version seem more practical, seem more real, and allow us to see the faces of the characters much more effectively than what looks like a veil that's been put over the face of the Bene Gesserit sisterhood in the new version of the film. And maybe we're not really supposed to recognize the actors or actresses in those costumes, but that seems to me to be a little bit counterproductive. The other things that I see in the film, like I said, include little details about weaponry and such. I do notice that here's the big one that really kind of was a bummer for me. Baron Harkonnen in the new film is basically a figure in the background. He's not a dramatic character that we get a lot of energy from. He's kind of slow moving, and we have no idea of the suspensors that are holding him up in the air because of his great weight. We get a little bit of sense of that in the one scene when he is finally attacked by Duke Leto with the poison tooth. But the sequences are so much more spectacular and interesting in the David Lynch version. We see that the Baron has to activate his suspensors to raise him up in the air. We see him moving around regularly using those suspensors, being carried around like he is being levitated across the floor and practically dragging his feet. I think that those are some of the things that are missing from the new version of the film that make it a little bit less visually interesting, even though the technology is better. And that surprises me quite a bit because we want the films to be interesting, not just technically spectacular, but we want them to have the intimacy that comes with this kind of storytelling. And I really feel that they've missed a little bit there as a consequence. The there was another example of the detail in these things that I think is also missing, and that's in um, the the little bits of business that the Harkonnens have that show how evil they are. The Beast Raban, is consuming a crushed the juices from a crushed animal as kind of a snack. He he rips off a piece of meat off of a hanging animal as he's going in to see the Baron at one point. And I think Dave Bautista is a great casting for the Beast Raban, but he's not given as much personality in this as he probably needs. And I think that's probably going to come out a little bit more in the second part of the film. But I thought it was very well set up and executed in the David Lynch version, and that's one of the reasons that I think I find that version so much more interesting. I just came back from a viewing of the David Lynch film on the big screen. I was happy to see it and getting prepared to see part two of Denis Villeneuve's Dune. And I think that I'm still excited to see the movie. I still want people to enjoy it, and I think it's going to be spectacular to look at. But it still warms my heart to see what David Lynch was able to do in 1984 and his technical crew. Now, sandworms, Denis Villeneuve's all over that part. They've got that solid. So I'm looking forward to seeing that portrayed on screen very much in the new film. All right, well, those are my thoughts for the moment. I hope everything goes well with you guys, and I hope you enjoy Dune Part 2. See ya.